So Tamara and I thought to talk about fostering communities and empathy through music and technology during times of crisis. I am an artist and a musician from Israel. Tamara, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. I'm Director of Music Export Poland and also Independent Expert of UNESCO National Commission in Poland.
And we've been working together for a number of years on numerous different initiatives. And we thought it'd be nice to sort of, in a tech-oriented conference, talk a little bit about tech, but also about where we are now, or maybe where we're headed, and also sort of how we're dealing with the situation that's right now.
True. And as Emmanuel mentioned, we've known each other for years, and I'm pretty much familiar with his fascination with cities, local communities, and also new technology, and all possible collaboration between those three. So I thought that maybe you could start, Emmanuel, with a few words about the project that you've run regarding this topic.
Sure. So I've been very fascinated by the connection between cities, music, technology, and community engagement. When I became artistic director 10 years ago of a theater in Jerusalem, one of the things that I began to explore was, what does it actually mean to run an arts institution in the 21st century? And how can we connect to where we are? And my decision was to base our entire artistic programming on the city of Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a city, Israel in general, but Jerusalem, it's as a city that's full of tensions, full of polarizations and extremes. It's also an incredibly multi-layered city. And I thought that if we base our artistic programming on the city of Jerusalem, so speaking about the city and to the city and from the city, maybe we would sort of find a different way in order to express the art that we want to do. And so the first project that we created was an audiovisual project in which we invited DJs and VJs to remix the city of Jerusalem. So they spent a week in residency and basically recorded the whole city. So they recorded the prayers, the cars, the people, the different languages, the nature sounds, etc. And then we created an audiovisual experience in 360 degrees so that the people from Jerusalem would see their city through those artists' eyes. And also the artists, by spending time in Jerusalem, by spending time with the people and in the city, could get an interesting perspective on how it is to actually live in the city. So I thought to share with you a very small trailer from that project. And the visuals are actually taken from the city. They're all field recordings. And our idea was to sort of say, well, what happens if we take life itself, daily life itself, and create an artistic expression out of that? Maybe we can open a window to discover another culture.
Yeah. And mixing leads us to the very first project we did together, Mix the City.
Yes. Another step from this project of dissolving localities was a project that Tamara and I collaborated on called Mix the City. This project was developed as a web app that people could basically make a mix out of a city by themselves. So if in Dissolving Localities, the project that is the remixing the city, artists actually spend time recording a city, here we thought we would be lovely to try and take a snapshot, a cultural snapshot of a city, recording 12 musicians from the city who sort of represent the cultural and musical diversity of the city, have them record themselves in iconic places or places of their choice around the city, and then allow people all over the world to make a mix of that city, thus discovering the culture and the sound of the city. So in a way, sort of like a cultural discovery project through music. Maybe I'll show you just one or two, like a very short example of how that sort of project sounds. This is the first project that we did after we launched the project in Tel Aviv. We did this in Mannheim, together with the city of Mannheim and with Rainer Kern, who's the director of the Enjoy Jazz Festival. So I'll just show you a couple of seconds from how this works. We have these musicians divided into boxes like an Ableton Live push instrument, and then users all over the world could basically express themselves on these musicians. That was an example of a project that we did where we thought it would be lovely to try and use technology in order to be able to open a gateway to a culture through music. So basically, instead of hearing about a place, going to that place, maybe by introducing yourselves through music to a place, maybe that opens a different type of gateway to a culture.
Yeah. And honestly, the greatest outcome of this project, of course, except many weeks of very good fun while mixing and sharing with my friends and family, was that some artists from totally different background, they've met and they understood that they can work together, that although they represent totally different genres, they can mix their styles, and plenty of collaboration came up from this project in Katowice especially. Yeah. But honestly, there's one more project that you've run, and I'm a huge fan of this project because it brings the topic of empathy, and also it brings topic of taking care of each other, and also it's very close to nature, isn't it?
Yes. So another project that we're working on now is a project called the Symphonic Garden. This project is a project in which a sound installation is embedded within a garden. And the idea is that when people tend the garden, so when they, for example, nourish the plants, or they plant a plant, or they water the plant, they move the earth, music happens. And there are sensors that analyze the weather patterns, so humidity, pollution, wind velocity, etc. And music constantly grows by the interaction with the people. And so the idea is that as we build a community that's sort of responsible for the garden, the music will grow and evolve. And we use AI technology to basically have the music respond to people's interaction and also to the development of the music itself. And the idea is that, of course, as people tend the garden, music grows, and also vice versa. If people stop tending the garden and the garden dies, so does the music. And for us, it's sort of a way to sort of rethink right now how creativity, community building, and considering nature and sustainability all connect with one another, because we feel that that is something that is very important in this day and age. There's such polarization and such a discourse of extremes. But we feel that through something like this, where people nurture something that they can't see the result of right away, but by coming together and doing something together that is beyond them and has the result of experiencing together music and growing music together, this could bring people together.
True. I agree.
And that
Definitely.
actually brings to you, Tamara. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what the Music Expo does in Warsaw and how maybe the situation right now, the crisis has influenced your work.
Yeah. Well, I guess that like any other sector, music is influenced a lot with the current situation. Luckily, a lot of initiatives, activities of Music Expert Poland could be moved online, like workshops, like lectures, like even songwriting camps, which you can do online nowadays. It's much easier to create songs online than it used to be. So some of them, of course, but there are other projects which honestly were the most important, maybe core projects for us, like trade missions, like spotlights during big music events like CMW, Canadian Music Week. So obviously it's not that easy to do it online. And also those big events, they bring the biggest income from musicians. So when we send a band abroad, it might happen that they will be booked for a festival, that they will play a gig and they will earn money, is frankly speaking. So we decided that we need to find a new way for them to make it possible for them to play and play online, of course. So we just built a VOD platform, which will be used to stream concerts, but also to monetize concerts. So our main idea is that they are doing their regular job, so they should be paid. We are totally against free shows in internet. Of course, we understand that when all that happened, what happened, it was the first moment was the moment of solidarity. So everyone wants to share their music, but now we have to think about music as an industry and also as a source of income for a lot of people. So we should find a way to let them earn, to make sure that they will be able to survive. So that's the biggest project that we are running now. And also we have new research platform. So we decided that we will use this opportunity and this time that we have now to investigate educational needs of our music industry in Poland. And it will be used to create tailor-made educational project, which we hopefully will be able to convince our universities and Ministry of Higher Education to implement into universities. So that basically that there are the most important initiatives that we are doing as a music export office.
It's interesting because I think that during this time, in the beginning, the first feeling that we had, I also work here in Israel for an arts organization that does art for social change. And the first time when it hit us that this is a very serious thing and it's going to impact our lives in a very profound way, our first thing was to think about, was to say, okay, so what can we do now? And very quickly we said, no, we don't need to do anything right now. We need to think about this. We need to give it time.
Sure.
Because we felt that we were constantly trying to find a solution. And maybe we don't need to yet find a solution. We need to think. And then over the past week, one of the things that we've been thinking about more and more is whether we should, as an organization, use the human skill sets that we have, sort of like the emotional skill sets that we have, and open up and facilitate a discussion with people, sort of with our audience, with people around us, about what's happening. How do people feel in seclusion? How do they feel when they're alone? How our lives have completely been transformed through using either Zoom or digital technology. The fact that we can't touch each other, and sort of, instead of thinking about an arts project, thinking about maybe an arts process where we bring people together in an open-ended, reflective, emotional journey where we can open things up and talk about them and give them space.
Yeah, I guess that now we have more space for appreciation. We should appreciate what we had before and also think what we would like to have in the future, especially that we all know that we won't go back to normal. It will be new normal, and it mostly depends on us what the new normal will be. And what I've observed last weeks, was a lot of solidarity, which really was a good symptom that people are so they are taking care of each other, and probably it's the most important thing now. And also a lot of creativity. So the way people want to connect with each other, the way they want to spend their time. We've seen that in Italy, people singing on their balconies and sharing their music. So the level of creativity is rising, and that's something that also we can appreciate, of course. But yeah, mostly I guess that's those three things: empathy, appreciation, and also creativity. So that's three adjectives we would like to use in the future.
Yeah, it's funny because in Israel, on Friday night, it's the beginning of the Shabbat. So what happens is everyone usually basically comes back home, and we have dinner with our families, and it's a very private affair, very family-oriented affair. Unless you're Orthodox, then you go to the synagogue and then have Shabbat dinner. But ever since this began, and we live in a kibbutz, every Friday, everyone comes out and stands outside their house, and we sing together and play music together and say toast together before the Shabbat comes in. And all of a sudden, we've refound sort of a sense of community through this situation. I wanted to actually ask you about that because I know that with the UNESCO Creative City Network, you've devised an amazing initiative, you and I, Karen, and the Creative City Network.
Yeah.
Maybe you can say a few words about the Creative City Network and then maybe about this initiative?
Of course. So basically it was Reiner's idea. He was already mentioned today, our good spirit during this conversation and also during our everyday life, I guess. So UNESCO Creative Cities Network is a network established in 2004. It's a network of cities in 7 different fields: gastronomy, film, music, design, new media, literature, and I forget about one, film, craft and folk, of course. So now we have like almost 300 cities around the world, and all those cities, they share UNESCO vision of sustainable development and based on 17 goals, which you can find in New Urban Agenda and also Agenda 2030, United Nations Agenda. So we, during this crisis, what we figure out is that first, we should find a way to encourage people to stay home. So although it's very hard for us and all of us are thinking what will happen next, we should first follow the rules, respect new reality, and take care of each other. And we just realized that to reach people, we should also ask culture people to create movies and to share their point of view, their vision. To stay at home and be responsible and be respectful. And we ask musicians to create musicians, Michelin star chefs, also writers, visual artists to create movies. And we launch a media campaign, which you can find on Instagram now and Facebook. And actually, I would love to share this video of one Polish artist who encouraged people to stay home and be respectful.
What's the project called?
We are culture, and R stands for responsible and respectful.
So I'll play that video.
Whoa, hey, oh, hey, hey. Whoa, hey, hey. Responsibly, we are culture.
I think that's a wonderfully playful demonstration of a beautiful plea. And I think that one of the things that we find here, and we speak about it a lot here, is that our lives are filled with tension here and with enemies. And there's one against the other all the time. And one thing that this pandemic has done is that there are no them and us. Everyone here is together, and we all need to figure out what we should do. And even though our life sometimes is full of difference, this difference does not necessarily mean that it's a negative difference. This difference means that we should accept and maybe be more open to what this difference is and how can we coexist together within this difference. And maybe we should sort of try and be more respectful of one another and of one another's opinions and of what the other's place and stuff like that. And I think that's a wonderful way to maybe sort of express that.
It's just a starting point. Stay at home, respect others, but respect can apply to many different fields of our life. And I totally agree with you, especially that today Olga Tokarczuk, Polish Nobel Prize, she posted a beautiful text about inequality in our society and how this pandemic crisis just realize us how much inequality is in the world and on what we should work on. So I guess that it can be also a good starting point to respect everyone and to make sure that we will treat each other with the same amount of respect.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we can find ourselves now in a place where we can really examine and ask, where can we go? And I think that this where can we go, both in terms of technology and music, and also we should also maybe think about who we're talking to, who are our audiences, who are the people that we're trying to reach. So of course an orchestra has the audience that of classical musicians or things like that, but if we think about new platforms, if we think about new models for interaction with our audiences, and how technology and art can intersect to basically connect with people and engage with them, this could be a wonderful opportunity right now to sort of open this up and explore what other models do we have. A project I'm working on, for example, now in Kansas with the Kansas City Museum is to really explore this thing of saying, okay, so if there's a museum, what happens around the museum? We sometimes think about cultural institutions or places as we think of, okay, we're going from our home to the museum and we don't look around us. And sometimes the people who live around the museum don't really go to the museum because they don't feel welcome. And the project that we're working on with the museum now is how to think about the people who are living around the museum and how to connect the museum with those people, and also how to connect the overall experience of coming to the museum to say, no, you're not only coming to a museum, you're coming to a neighborhood, you're coming to a community. You're coming to a place where there is much more to be gained by experiencing this museum. So these types of approaches, I think this could be an opportunity right now to sort of broaden who we talk to, why we talk to them, how we talk to them, and how we bring them into the conversation.
I guess that's the best time now for all of us to evaluate, but also to reflect on our previous work, on our priorities, and also our ideas and our vision for future. So what you're saying, I agree. I totally agree, Emmanuel, as always. It's easy in our case. Yeah.
So thank you very much for a very reflective talk, and also the implication this crisis has on all of us, on the music we do, we make, on the music we listen to, the music that is all around us.